Entrepreneurship is a very tough journey. Like, it's a very tough journey. And if you have the intention of going into entrepreneurship, you know that you are going to learn, you are going to make mistakes, you are going to face certain risk. But if you persist, if you persevere, then you will be able to make it through the journey. All right, so today we are looking at the entrepreneurship ecosystem in Ghana, how entrepreneurs are surviving, young entrepreneurs are surviving. You can see that most of the young entrepreneurs are looking at how they can raise funding. Some are looking at how they can refine their products. Some are looking at go-to-market strategies. We are having startups that are also trying to innovate new products and services that will actually launch them into the entrepreneurship landscape. Of course, that is very key, but I think that it's important our entrepreneurs will understand the real foundation of entrepreneurship. We are looking at what kind of persona you need to have as an entrepreneur. The understanding that entrepreneurship is not a one-day journey. It's a process. You need to understand the various processes, how you're going to start, how you're going to put the organization together. And then also, every business should run as an organization where you're looking at the various structures that you need to have. You should look at, you should be clear about where your business wants to go. You should look at the targets you are looking at in terms of the markets that you are looking at. And also, you also have to pay attention to the scalability of your business. You meet a number of startups or entrepreneurs, and you try to assess the business. You want to look into the future of the business, and you realize that yes, the innovation is good, the idea is good, but the business in itself will be difficult to scale. Sometimes the scalability will be due to the fact that the entrepreneur do not have the capacity to raise the needed resources, if it's capital, the needed funds to actually inject into that business. So you should have that holistic understanding of the entrepreneurship landscape, so that you'll be able to know whether to launch or not to launch, because some businesses are launching and they launch and they are not able to actually sustain the business, not because they are bad entrepreneurs, but it's because they were not able to understand the nature of the entrepreneurship ecosystem in itself. So you are looking at you as a person, your characteristics, your background, your experiences as a person, and then you're also looking at the terrain that you are entering in. If it's a sector, let's say you are entering into agri sector, maybe you are going into processing, you are going into farming itself, you are going into aquaculture, you are going into snail farming, any other product that you want to bring out, you are going into fintech or any of the business, the product or service, or any of the sectors that you want to bring out. So you need to understand based on the product or the service that you want to render, so that you not over expect or you not launch into an area that you are not prepared for. These are very fundamental issues. So you should look at your experience. You should look at even academic background sometimes also comes to play, because even if you don't have that academic background, then you should be ready to also learn about that industry that you are launching in. You are going into digital services, you are going into production, you're going to manufacturing. You should be able to do intensive and in-depth reading about that environment, that kind of business, that nature of business, that form of business, so that you will be able to actually navigate around the nuances in such a sector. And I think that has been one of the bottlenecks that most of the entrepreneurs in Ghana are facing, because the fact that people want to be their own boss, they want to start a business, that I also run a business. That is not enough. How do you even put a team together, team building? How do you build a team? How do you raise funding? How do you ensure that the business can be sustainable? What partners are you going to work with? and things of that nature. In terms of raw materials, where are you going to source your raw materials from? How easy are you going to source that raw material? You're also looking at issues of funding, financing. How are you going to manage your finances? Do you understand your revenue? Do you understand your expenditure? The various regulatory environment that you need to go through. You need to pay your taxes. You need to pay your social security, and then you need to also pay yourself. You need to have control over the numbers. The numbers are very key. If you don't have control over the numbers, you hit the rock and you can't move on. So these are basic things that I believe you should be able to take into consideration when you want to go into entrepreneurship. And I think that everybody, irrespective of the sector that you are in, you can be an entrepreneur. You can be in the medical field or in the health field or sector, and you can be an entrepreneur. Maybe you are a nurse, maybe you are a midwife, maybe you are a pharmacist, you are a medical doctor. You can be an entrepreneur. But with all those backgrounds, for me, I believe that you can innovate around that expertise, that background that you have. And then also you can also learn a skill. These days, people are using different forms of skills to start businesses. People are starting businesses, becoming content creators. So maybe you are a nurse and you want to create content around the health sector. You are a caterer, you want to create content around the hospitality sector. So when you are creating a business around an environment or a sector that you have expertise, sometimes it's quite easier because you are able to actually see ahead. You're able to understand the nuances around such sectors. So for me, I believe entrepreneurship is something that we really need to embrace, but that notwithstanding, it will require that we pay critical attention to some of these basic things that I've shared. I believe going forward, you look at some of the nitty-gritties, some of the details of entrepreneurship, and some of the things that you need to critically look at. Today, I'm giving a general overview of what entrepreneurship is all about. For me, as an entrepreneurship coach, and then also I've been a researcher in entrepreneurship, and I believe that the characteristics of even the entrepreneur has played a very lead role in how to determine the survival of a business. In Africa, for instance, businesses are not able to run for a long time. There's that study that shows that after 5 years, a lot of businesses are folding. After 10 years, most businesses are folding up. So how can businesses sustain beyond the 5-year ceiling and even a 10-year ceiling? That is where I think it's important we talk about some of these things. Entrepreneurship is a science. For me, it's a science and it's an art. So we need to understand the science and art of entrepreneurship. And like I said, irrespective of your sector, irrespective of your expertise, you can become an entrepreneur. I'm happy if you look at the evolution of the Ghanaian entrepreneurship ecosystem. You realize that just some few years ago, like maybe around 2013, 2012, 2013, 2014, even up to about 2018, and even getting into 2019 thereabout, you could see there was a shift from tech entrepreneurship, like solely tech focus on tech entrepreneurship. Now entrepreneurship has taken another shape, where those days you meet a lot of young people. They are in the tech space, but they were not paying attention to the business aspect of the tech ecosystem that they were playing around. But at the point, they started like, wow, we need to also venture into entrepreneurship, where they are then converting that digital knowledge, tech knowledge into entrepreneurship. And now we are having a lot of digital entrepreneurs. We are getting more people coming into the ecosystem, and that balance and that blend of tech, that blend of finance, that blend of other sectors coming together with a focus on creating businesses is what is actually making the Ghanaian entrepreneurship ecosystem more robust, more diverse, and I believe we are making a headway. Yes, of course, there are a lot of other challenges that current entrepreneurs need to face. Talk of the funding landscape of the Ghanaian entrepreneurship ecosystem. If you look at the trajectory we have gone through in recent times, there has been some increase in the funding that is coming into the ecosystem. I think back in 2022, the funding was around I think $50-something million. 2023 it was around $66 million. In 2024 we hit around $127 million coming into the ecosystem. But the issue has also to do with who is raising those funding. It is so the OGs, the old names that we know. So how do we also turn around the clock where funding that is coming into the ecosystem will be balanced, will be equitable, will be accessible to even the up and coming entrepreneurs? And I think that is also a conversation that we need to have as an ecosystem players. Yeah, so that we will be able to attract more funding into even the startups at the various regional ecosystems. And I think that's something that is a conversation that maybe going forward we will really need to have, ensuring that funding that comes into the entrepreneurship ecosystem is not skewed to some group of startups that have been doing well, but how are we going to bring up some new startups? And I think I'm happy to have initiatives like the Startup Cooperative Credit Union by AgricoHub that seeks to bring up some products and services that will look at building the financial base of startups. Most of the startups do not need so much money, like we don't have much of the big ticket startups. They are rising through the various stages. So Startup Credit Union, for instance, is looking at how you can give small ticket amounts to new startups with all their nuances, so that they can grow their financial capacity. Because commercial banks, it's a no-go area for commercial banks to venture into supporting startups. But these are businesses that we need to incubate, we need to support to scale. And who is going to fund them? So as an entrepreneur, you're looking at how are you going to get this funding that you need. That is not that funding that most of the young entrepreneurs require. It's not attractive to the commercial banks, and that's how innovative platforms like the Startup Cooperative Credit Union comes in. So I understand today they launch the Growth Boost Fund, a Growth Boost account, where you are a startup and you can sign on to the Growth Boost program, where you go through some stages of coaching, some stages of financial management coaching and business development support. Then from there you can apply for support. Either you are applying for equity or you are applying for loan. And I think that's beautiful. So we'll be able to build a financial base of our startups. They open an account, become members of the credit union, and for that matter, they are growing through the ranks of the entrepreneurship journey. And I believe more of this support will come. We are looking forward to seeing more funding coming into the credit union, and for that matter, we'll be able to support more people. Of course, very soon we are also going to launch the Growth Boost Fund, where we are going to target entrepreneurs or innovators in the various sectors. We are focusing on agri entrepreneurship or agri-tech. We are looking at green business. We are looking at climate smart businesses. We are looking at waste management and fintech. So that fund is also coming in to provide some funding for startups or entrepreneurs in the Ghanaian entrepreneurship ecosystem. So for me, I believe the future is bright, but we need to actually target our interventions. We need to ensure that we build startups from ground up. Else, we will rush them into the entrepreneurship journey, and they will not be able to survive. Entrepreneurship is a very tough journey. It's a very tough journey. And if you have the intention of going into entrepreneurship, You know that you are going to learn, you are going to make mistakes, you are going to face certain risk. But if you persist, if you persevere, then you will be able to make it through the journey.